Yes. Okay.
Hi, it's
Great.
Dan.
Hey, Dan. Great to see you. Okay, just checking everything here. And okay, yeah. Do you mind doing a quick drop? I'm Dominic Natty. Do you mind doing a quick drop for our show? It's like, hey, this is Dan Patrick, and you're watching the Dominick Natty Show.
Hi, this is Dan Patrick, and you're watching the Dominick Natty program.
Awesome. Okay, I'll just do my radio intro, and I'll just jump into some questions.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back to the Dominick Natty Show on Intellectual Radio in Chicago and everywhere that voices can be heard. I've been telling you about our special guest, and the time has come. The man himself, Dan Patrick, is with us today. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I hope the buildup wasn't too much because I can't live up to the hype here.
You're the man. You're the man. Yes, no, we're very excited. Now, this is more celebrity and pop culture type of format, but I do want to ask you some things because obviously, you know, I'm sure you I know you talked about it a lot today on your show, but Aaron Judge hit the big number 62 last night. It was caught by a fan. Now, I want to ask you this. Now, this ball will be valued at millions of dollars. Now, is it unfair to the athlete to have his accomplishment make a fan a millionaire and then Aaron receives nothing? Do you think this fan who catches the ball should donate some of the money to Aaron's charity, or should they feel no obligation?
I don't think they should feel any obligation. Aaron Judge is going to make $40 million a year, so I'm not worried about Aaron Judge. It's just the baseball. If I'm the fan and you do give it back, then maybe you get the uniform he was wearing or the bat that he was wearing. But, you know, we've taken advantage of fans for so long. They're building all these stadiums. The taxpayers are. Like, you go to the ballpark, you spend the money. These PSLs. So if a fan gets something and wants to capitalize on it, good for him. Because athletes have capitalized on fans for decades now. So I have no issue with it if he wants to keep it and sell it.
Okay. So I guess, you know, so I'm a publicist. I've been a publicist for 16 years. I've worked with some athletes, and I've seen people come up, and you know, I was with Dwayne Wade this one time, and this guy comes up. He's got the 16 by 20. He's got his friend right next to him. You know, Dwayne signs the picture. His friend takes signs the photo. His friend's taking pictures as Dwayne signing. I mean, is it fair to athletes? I mean, they're not really fans. They're making money off of your accomplishments, though. You know, I mean, how do you feel about that? Where it's like, I'm just coming to make money off of your talent, and you know, I mean, you don't think that there's anything unfair about that?
Well, that's different than catching a home run ball.
Right.
Okay. I mean, what are the odds you're going to catch a home run ball?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's like winning the lottery. All right. We don't ask anybody who wins the lottery hey, you should be donating money to charities here. They have, that's how they raise money with the lottery. But as far as 15 photos you got to sign or cards, you know, I would say if I'm Dwayne Wade, look, I'm going to sign one. I'll sign one for you.
Right.
You shouldn't be doing an assembly line where I'm doing 15 of these things. And you just say, look, I'll do one of these. Or personalize them. Because if you personalize them, it's really hard to sell those online unless, you know, the guy you're selling it to just happens to have the same name as you.
Right. Okay. Now, what if Dan Patrick caught the home run ball last night? Like, what would you do at this point in your life? Would you throw it back? Would you give it to a kid? What would you do if you were there and it fell into your hands?
I would probably give it back to him and then ask for the bat that he hit it with. And then that's where you could go, the baseball is his. Can we auction off this bat? I do a lot of things with the Boys and Girls Club of America. That'd be something where you go, I got an auction item here. You're in the Northeast. You can raise money, and everybody benefits from this. Aaron Judge does, Boys and Girls Club does, and then whoever buys the bat. But I would probably do it where the money was able to go to a local charity.
Okay. That's now.
I have so many things in my man cave here, Dominic, that
right.
Would I want it in here? Yes. But I would almost want it on loan from somebody if I said, hey, we're going to auction this off, but I want this to be in my man cave for a month so I can use it on my show. That would probably be my only requirement. But I have a lot of things in here. Carson Palmer gave me his Heisman for a year, and we had it in here. But I knew I had to send it back, but it was nice to have it on display.
Is that something common? Like, where obviously the layout of your show is so iconic. So it's like, I mean, are athletes hitting you up and saying, "Hey, I'd like to display on your mantle"?
No, not at all. I just asked Carson Palmer when we had him on. I said, "Where's your Heisman?" He said, "It's out in the garage." I said, "Well, what? Why don't you send it to me?" And he goes, "All right, I'll send it to you." And then he sent it to me.
Okay.
Darius Rucker, the lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish, they won a Grammy. And I said, "Where's your first Grammy?" And he goes, "It's in my bedroom." I said, "Well, why don't you send it to me?" And then he sent it to me, and I put it on my desk, and it was on my desk for over a year. And then the Grammy people saw it, and they're like, "You got to get that Grammy back." And then Darius calls me in a panic. He's like, "You got to send that Grammy back, or they won't ever let me win another Grammy." I go, "All right." So I sent it back.
Well, what was the issue? I mean, what do they say? Like, you can't, because you didn't win it, you can't display it?
I have no idea. They should have been happy that I had it there on display every single day. Not a big deal, but I guess they thought, it should be with the person who won it, and it's really serious. I mean, people use their Oscars to prop open the bathroom door. Come on. Celebrate it, use it, show it. That was the point that I was. A lot of times you go, well, hey, I'm going to hide that, or I'm going to put it in a safety deposit box. I understand you want to put certain things in there, like Super Bowl rings, but if you win the Heisman, I'd put it on the hood of my car if I could.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm with you. Let me ask you this. So, and you may have already discussed this, but Antonio Brown, now he's trolling Tom Brady, posting pictures of him and Giselle. He was caught exposing himself in Dubai. Do you believe that Antonio suffers from a legitimate mental conditions that makes him act erratically, or is he just immature?
Well, I can't speak to what his mental health is, but I still go back to when he got hit by Vontaze Burfict of the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly thought that his personality changed. I don't know why. It could be stardom, got more publicity, but it felt like he's a different person. And, some of it's sad because he's a great player on his way to the Hall of Fame. And then he self-destructed. He got selfish. He wanted, Tom to throw him the ball. And then all of a sudden it's Tom's fault. Tom's the reason why he got there in the first place. Tom's the reason why he got a Super Bowl ring. He brought him in. He spoke for him in New England. They were going to keep him in New England. Tom wanted him to. And then the owner said, no, we're not going to keep him. Then he brings him to Tampa Bay. But Antonio Brown, that's a sad story. Really is, because we'll look back on what could have been. And he is his own worst enemy. Whether that's, something that is more serious, or maybe it's just who he is, who his ego is.
Why go after? I mean, even him, I don't know if you saw this post with Giselle.
Yeah, I saw.
I mean, so it's like
he wants attention. That's all. These guys who get so much attention, and then when you're out of the game, they're like, "How do I get attention?" Right. He thinks he's a musician now, or a rapper, or whatever he is, and then he's exposing himself in a pool in Dubai, and you're going to tweet out a picture of you and Photoshop with Giselle. Like, that's a desperate person. It's sad. It really is sad.
Yeah. Now, this is one I wanted to ask you. NFL players, should they be allowed to put any message on as a helmet decal? Not just social injustice, but what about political parties, their stance on abortion? Like, if you were a commissioner, how would you create the guidelines to what NFL players can use as a helmet decal? Does it start and end with just social injustice, or should they be allowed more freedom?
No. Like, you're playing a game. These are our rules. That's, you want to do something outside of football, and you want to talk about a political candidate, or you want to talk about a voting issue, then that's on you. But when you play in our game, in our stadium, in our uniforms, on our fields, then you have to abide by our rules. I just want to see sports. You know, I don't have to have political agendas all the time. You want to have a message on your cleats, they have to be cleared. I think that's fine. But if you want to do something outside of that, then use your platform outside of that. But when you're on the football field, how about we try our best to make it about football?
Yeah. Okay. Are you against some of the decals are approved, right? Like stop hate and end racism. Like, do you feel like that's a distraction, or is it? I mean, are these
Well, we're
benefits?
already down that road, though. We've
Yeah.
already gone down that road. And, this started with Colin Kaepernick and then sort of, okay, how do we do something that will give both sides of this? And I think that's what the NFL was trying to do, tiptoe. How do we do this where we put something in the end zone or you put something on your shoes, those kind of things. So I understand that. It's already happened. But
Right.
I think you got to be careful in how much is enough and how much is too much and what are the messages we're trying to send there. Um, they do breast cancer awareness month. Well,
Sure.
do they do anything for men? Do they do something for prostate cancer? Like, why not? What's you're gonna do something for women? Absolutely. How about do something for men? Do something where it's a positive here. But it feels like it's a marketing ploy for, hey, we care about women, and they should, because they make up about 40%, maybe a little less, 40% of their audience. But if you're going to do social issues, then we could do colonoscopy month. Whatever it is, make every month something with the NFL if you want to do that. Don't just pick and choose one thing.
That's interesting. Okay. Now, we had Ricky Williams on last season. Now, as you can imagine, he was an advocate for marijuana use for NFL players and for athletes. He thinks that it would help avoid concussions and how to cope with certain things. Or maybe not avoid concussions, but help deal with a lot of the stress. And do you have any stance on this? Like, should marijuana use be allowed in professional sports?
I'd have to see the studies on it, because
Yeah.
you're saying that it helps with concussions. If it helps in healing or those who have had CTE and it can give you a better way of life, then I'm certainly for that. I have no problem with that. I don't view it as performance enhancing. And if you're using it for, medicinal reasons, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I mean, we may look back on Ricky Williams. Well, we should. He was way, way, way ahead of his time in what he was saying and what he was preaching. And it feels like we're getting closer to understanding what the benefits can be, embracing it. But, it's taken a long time to get to this point.
Yeah. I mean, people just looked at him as a pothead that just
Yeah.
chose that over football, a great career, but now looking back, it's like, well, maybe we overreacted, maybe he was right. So that's a great point. Now, if you could choose an entertainer for the Super Bowl halftime show this year, who would you have chosen?
I would have chose Taylor Swift, but Taylor says that she's got to wait till she re-records all of her albums. And I would have been curious who she would have brought in. I'm not, Rihanna hasn't done anything really, not that much. She's more of a fashion icon now. But the people she's going to bring in to be part of the halftime show. So sometimes you're hiring one person who then is going to bring in other people. We saw that, last year with the Super Bowl. If I have Dr. Dre, then he's going to bring in Eminem, and then he's going to bring in Snoop and 50 Cent. That's what I think is going to happen with Rihanna. Is Jay-Z going to be involved? Is Drake going to be involved? So I understand that. That's probably what their logic is. If we have one singular person, who are they going to bring in? I would have been really curious who Taylor Swift would have brought in.
Yeah, that's okay. Now, I'm obviously an interviewer as well, and I want to ask you this. So Donald Trump is suing CNN for defamation for almost $500 million because they compared him to Hitler and a racist and an insurrectionist. Now, I know you have connections with CNN in your career, and like, how do you, as a media member, draw the line between free speech and actual defamation? Like, how do you view that?
It's probably in the eye of the beholder there of what I can say, how I can say it, who's listening. Did Donald Trump defame CNN when he would say all the negative things about CNN? So it almost feels like if they want to sue each other for defamation, go at it. But what I say, and if it's a team or a player or coach or manager, I'm not saying it to defame anybody as much as I am just here's an opinion I have on somebody. But it's not meant in a mean spirited way. But if he wants to sue CNN, I'd like to see what's going to happen during discovery of a lawsuit like that. And does CNN then turn around and sue him for defamation with things he said while he was president?
I mean, it seems like a lot. Like, I'll be honest, I've been threatened several times. I've interviewed over 300 celebrities, a lot of people in reality TV and actors and stuff, and people threaten this word all the time, and I'm like, dude, I didn't do anything. I asked you questions. If someone I mean, do you think that these are mostly bluffs, right? I mean, who's really gone to the end of a defamation suit? It's very rare, right? So are they publicity stunts?
Probably that you want to say, hey, I'm not going to take this and I'm going to sue you. Okay. Where does it go? I mean, how many lawsuits are filed? How many lawsuits are seen through to completion? Very few.
Right.
And maybe CNN settles. I don't know. I haven't really followed it. But if you're going to have one person sue you, then what's open? Now what am I allowed to find out about you? And can I sue you since you defamed us? You went after our network and said all those things when you were the president. It's
right.
Good
fake
luck.
News. Yeah. I mean, you're accusing them of putting out, fake news.
Yeah. That seems like you're defaming them as well.
Right.
But I don't know how a judge are they even going to entertain this? Is it more for show where you go, I'm going to sue you? Okay.
Right.
And then nobody follows up after that. Like, whatever happened to that lawsuit? Or did you follow through on that lawsuit? And a lot of times most people just say, hey, I'm letting everybody know I'm not going to take this. Okay. You didn't take it very far after that. And I don't know if that's the case in this situation.
Have you ever experienced that? Have people threatened to sue you for something that you said negatively about a team or a player? No, never.
No, I think we were threatened legally by Tom Brady's law firm because we coined Tampa Bay before Tom did. And we had made T-shirts when he went to Tampa, and we put them out. This is before he did anything. And then we heard from his law firm, and they sent us a cease and desist. And I was like, all right, good luck with Tampa Bay. It's all yours because we'll just move on down the road.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Now, your friend, Adam Sandler, he's on the cover of AARP magazine this month.
Yeah.
Does this officially make Adam old? I mean, have you given him a hard time about it?
No, I didn't know he was on the cover, and I, of course, subscribed to AARP, and I love the centerfold in there. Sandman just had hip surgery, so I think those are the things. Once you start having a hip, knee replacement, then all of a sudden you're old. So, yeah, Sandman is officially old now.
Okay, so that's officially AARP. Yeah. That's the sign. I'll be quick. I know you don't have much more time, but who was the worst person you would say that you interviewed and why?
The worst person?
Worst person, worst interview. Yeah. Yeah,
because I wouldn't say somebody's the worst person. I would say that this wasn't the best interview that I've done, or it didn't turn out how I thought it would. One was Tanya Harding. It just didn't go well because I asked her questions about, what happened with Nancy Kerrigan in the Olympics. And she told me that, she was born again. And I said, well, how do you come to terms with your religion, with what you did? And she said, are we really going to get into this? And I said, this is the only time I've ever spoken to you. Then her friend, PR person, agent gets on and says, what's going on here? And she says, hold on, Paul wants to talk to you. I don't know who Paul is. So Paul gets on. He goes, Dan, what's going on here? I go, I'm doing an interview till you got on the phone. And She said that she was not going to make a skeptical out of her boxing career. Instead, a spectacle out of her boxing.
So she
So,
said that. Yeah.
yeah, she was going to do one of those in between periods at a minor league hockey game where you put on the big gloves and nobody gets hurt. But
Yeah.
she said that she's not going to make us skeptical out of her boxing career. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So that one didn't go well. David Stern, former NBA commissioner, but we had a great relationship. I love David Stern. He was a good man, fair man. But if you got on his bad side, he was coming after you, and that was uncomfortable. But it was still good radio. Like it was fair radio, and I never do gotcha. I don't want to do something where I go, hey, and I found this out. Did you know about it? I don't want to do any of that stuff. I like when there's a tennis match of you say something, I say something. We go back and forth with each other, and it may be uncomfortable. But in the end, do we still respect what each other was trying to do? And David Stern and I had a great relationship.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm with you. I've been in those situations as well. And it's fun. Yeah, you're right. Because their fans can appreciate, like I did an interview with Gene Simmons and he was very rude to me and we just didn't like each other. But his fans, which are my friends, like that he gave me such a hard time. So it's like you can appreciate that because you're right. And you as an interviewer is to go back and forth. And if people like David Stern more than you, then it's still okay. So I will ask you this. What is your biggest blunder of your, like when I say, when you look back, this is where I effed up the most.
Why are we skewing negative here, Dominic? What's
Let's
going
do
on
it.
here? Blunder, worse interviews. What's going on?
You don't like that?
I'm just saying. What's going on here? I thought we were going to be friends here.
Okay. Well, let's do your most positive. What is your most favorite?
I'm just kidding you. I haven't had, thank God, anything that really stood out. I've been very, very, very fortunate that I haven't had any of those moments where I went, oh my God, that's embarrassing. I mean, there might be something when I did SportsCenter, but that's live TV.
Right.
And, you make mistakes or you may mispronounce somebody's name, but it's not the end of the world. And I always find if you make a mistake, you apologize. That's it. Because now I've taken away your weapon. Oh, I can't believe you mispronounced that game. Hey, my bad, mispronounced it. It's pronounced, Adetokounmpo, for the Greek freak. Whatever, it's okay. It's not the end. But people wanted to be so serious in the end of the world. I can't believe it, and you're like, it's okay. Just made a mistake.
Yeah.
Rectify it, clarify, and then move on with it. But it's when you hold on and you go, I never said that. Or, I'm not wrong. Well, that's when it gets worse. I find if I make a mistake, be the bigger person and just say, you made a mistake. It's okay. We all make mistakes. But I'm doing live 3 hours of radio every day.
Right.
I did live TV for 18 years at ESPN and then Football Night in America. I mean, it's live, not taped. It's live. You're going to make mistakes. There's going to be mistakes made, but it's how you handle the mistakes. And I tell that to my broadcasting students at Full Sail University. You'll make mistakes. Don't be afraid to say you made a mistake. Because once you do that, you take away whatever ammo that person or people have that they want to come after you. Just say, my bad. Sorry about that. I said this, and it should have been this. That's all.
I agree. I agree. I give that advice to a lot of my clients. I'm like, hey, you know what? People will forgive you. It's when you try to make bizarre excuses where everyone's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, yeah. All right, I'll be quick. What are you promoting? Is there anything outside of the show? Any products? Any merchandise? Are you doing a tour?
No, none of that. We do a show Monday through Friday, danpatrick.com, and I do have a broadcasting school at Full Sail University with 400 students, and your degree is in sportscasting. And, you can earn your degree in 20 months. We have when we get you out into the workforce, we want you to have a job, not an internship. And we have an unbelievable staff, 300 years of experience in this business, and we're helping create the next broadcasters. And it's been the most rewarding thing that I've ever done in my career, because you're actually changing somebody's life, that they get a chance to do this. We help them. We give them sort of the answers to the test, because we've all been through this, from what we did at ESPN or NBC or Fox, CBS. And that's something I'm extremely proud of. We started with 5 students. Now we're over 400.
That's awesome. Okay,
Yep.
and they go to danpatrick.com for more information?
Well, it's Full Sail University. It's the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. And you can get your degree online or on campus in Orlando, Florida. But really, really rewarding. And I do video seminars once a month where students will play their videos, their tapes. I critique you. I go down to on campus usually 3 or 4 times a year. And it's been extremely, extremely rewarding, satisfying, and just to see the growth of students. Because when you're 18 or 19 years of age and you go, I want to do this, you don't know how to do it, but you want to do it. We want to help you understand, if you want to do it, you have to. This is what you have to do. And I didn't have this. I think I got it. I was in radio, and then I got into part-time TV at 26. And missed out on a local job in Dayton, Ohio. And I was devastated. I thought, I'll never get on TV. And I went to Atlanta to visit a former girlfriend, and she said, you should apply at CNN. I go, how can I get a job at CNN? I just missed out on Dayton, Ohio weekend sports. I go in there and I get a job. So it's crazy. It's luck, but you got to be ready when it's your turn. And I'm sure you deal with clients who they go, I'm never going to get my break. And you go, if you do it the right way, you'll get your break. But when you get your break, you better be damn good. Like Bryan Cranston is a friend. He was in Seinfeld. He was doing all these bit parts. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, Breaking Bad happens. Well, nobody knew Bryan. He had Malcolm in the Middle. That's something that was huge for him. They took a chance. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, there's going to be a chemistry teacher, and he's going to sell meth, and he's got cancer, and it's going to be the guy from Malcolm in the Middle. And you'd go, no.
Exactly.
And then you can't imagine somebody else doing that. But he was ready to do it. And that's what I say to my students. It's like somebody who wants to get up and, get in a bat in major leagues. Okay, get up there. Now be ready when you get into the batter's box. And that's what this business is all about. If it's not you, it's the next person coming in. Why can't it be you?
I love that. That's great. I definitely want to share those links. And Dan, on a scale of 1 to Dan Patrick, how bad am I as an interviewer?
How bad are you?
How good?
You're skewing negative again. How good am I?
How good am I on a scale of 1 to Dan Patrick?
Here's my advice if you were a student. Ask your question open-ended. Don't give me an answer, what you think my answer is going to be. But ask an open-ended question, because you want your person that you're interviewing, your subject, to keep talking. Don't do something I can answer with a yes or no. Don't say, I want to ask you this question. Just ask the question. I already know it's an interview, but make sure your questions are not about you, because I've had people say, guys, you ask great questions. And I go, well, what are the answers? That's all that matters. Not your question. It's what the answer is. And I've always said, who, why, where, how are wonderful questions to ask. But we as interviewers are so insecure because we want it to be about us. That, hey, I know more than, people. I want them to think that I know what the answers are. Now, I know the answers, but I want you to tell my audience what the answer is, because that's who you're serving. And I did a seminar on interviewing when I was at ESPN. 5 days, 8 hours a day on just interviewing. And it's a seminar that changed my career because it taught me to be a great listener. because whatever you're saying, I'm listening to what you're saying. That leads to my next question. And sometimes you'll have somebody say something and you're not really listening because you're on to your next question.
Yeah.
The best interviewer is the best listener, and it'll help you in all walks of life. With my family, I have 3 daughters. I'm always listening. My wife, always listening, because then you follow up with something, and that's really important because that's where I find radio gold. When somebody says something, they don't even know they just told me something. And I'll go, wait, you just said blah, 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 blah. Now, all of a sudden, we've opened up something that maybe we didn't. I never do a list of my questions. Never. I have a general idea of what I want to ask. Jeremy Lin, the former Nick, is going to be on the show tomorrow. There's a documentary out that's coming out on ESPN. I know the parameters of what I want to ask, but I want it to be a conversation, not an interview. And
Yeah.
I would suggest to you, the more you make it a conversation, the more that person relaxes, the more the person forgets that they're doing an interview. And that's your goal. It's, let's just talk. So when somebody says, hey, you want to do an interview? And I go, I'll have a conversation, because that's what it should be, not an interrogation. And a lot of times it'll be, here's a standalone question. There's a standalone question. There's a standalone question, instead of it just being a conversation. So I take interviewing very, very seriously.
But I do gotcha questions. So
Yes.
what do you now? I don't do it. Not doing it today because you're in a different industry, right? But when I talking to people in music industry or reality TV or whatever, they work because they get more headlines and more exposure. Now, do you feel like is that late? Do you understand that, or do you feel like that should be less respected?
Even asking that question, you just gave me both answers there.
Okay.
So what do you think of gotcha questions?
Okay.
I don't do it. I'm not trying to get headlines by putting you on the spot. I'm going to be fair to you and just ask a question. Now, you might say it's like hot takes. Oh, you don't do hot takes. No, I try to do an educated take. Now, it might be headline worthy, but I don't want to do something that's just careless and carefree. And as far as gotcha, I just want to be fair to you. And it doesn't mean I can't ask you a tough question. I think the gotcha question, that leads me to believe that you don't really care about the person you're asking the question to. It's about you getting attention. So that would bother me.
Okay.
But if you do it in a way that it's a conversation, you could even do, hey, are you ready for the gotcha questions? Like, you could even say to your guest, these are the gotcha questions. Now they're prepared, or at least they have an idea of what's coming up. You just don't want to have somebody go, wait, why are we talking about this? Because now they may not want to give you good answers. They may cut the interview short. But I've never subscribed to gotcha, just because I like to have repeat customers if I have somebody on. Now, you may do, hey, I'm interviewing that person, I'll never talk to them again.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to guess that's probably the case for you. Now, if I said you got to talk to that person next week or in 2 weeks, are you going to still ask the gotcha question? And you're probably not going to.
No, yeah.
So I think if it's what you need to get attention, what you need to perform, how you want to perform, it's in the eye of the beholder. And there's plenty of people who ask questions that way, but I feel like I have an obligation to be professional to who I'm talking to. And therefore, I'm going to ask you a tough question, but I'm going to hopefully ask it in a professional way, not one of those that, oh, holy shit, where'd that one come from?
Yeah.
Or why are you asking me that? Because there's some, and if somebody turned it around on you and started asking you really personal questions, then it's fair game.
Right.
And then you'd be like, I don't want to talk, or I can't talk about, okay. And just because you're a public figure doesn't mean that everything about you is public. And that's where I try to be fair to people. So, and I don't do, Dominic, I'm not, I care about it and I study it, but it doesn't mean I always adhere to it, because I could ask something that might be, an insensitive question. But my goal is never to be, gosh, I could get headlines if I ask Rihanna this. That doesn't interest me. I want that to come out in a conversation where it didn't feel like I was doing something in a nefarious way.
I understand. Well, I appreciate that. Yep, it's two different styles, and you're right. It comes down to why you're doing it.
Yes.
Like you're not doing it for negative attention. You're doing it to be professional.
Well, I got a lot of attention already. You're
Sure.
trying to establish something. And I got to be on SportsCenter, and I got to be on Football Night in America. I got to host the Olympics and hand out the Super Bowl trophy. So I don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And even people in my business who have hot takes, it's because a lot of those people didn't really establish themselves in another way, on another show. Or, I was very fortunate. Therefore,
Right.
I don't have to go, hey, notice me. And that's what a lot of people do, hot takes. They're like, hey, notice, and look over here. And I never had to subscribe to that, thankfully. Or I might be in that situation where I'm going, hey, how do I get some attention for this show? I'm thankful that I have SportsCenter and NBC to fall back on. That if you know me, great. If you don't, then that's okay.
Yep. That's really what it comes down. You're
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it comes out. Dan, this has been so great. I kept you over, and I hated to do that. I apologize.
No. I chose. I don't want to lecture, and I don't want it to come across as that, as much as just if somebody asks my opinion and I can help, then I'll help you. But there's, everybody has a different approach to it. But I've studied this and I care about it. And therefore, I feel strongly about certain things. And this is what I'm teaching my students. And learning how to interview will help you all walks of life. No matter what your business is, you're a salesperson. I want you talking. Hey, what do you like about this car? Instead of saying, hey, do you like this car? Yeah. What do you like about this car? Well, I like the fact that it's got this interior. Oh, you like that interior. What do you think about this interior? So now I've got you. It's like when I ask my kids, not, hey, how was school? Good. What was great about school today? Now I get you talking. So they're just little things, but it's to get people talking. Even if you're going out on a date, how do I get my date talking? Hey, are you having a good time? Yep. Hey, how would you assess the first hour of our first date? It's all it is just getting people talking and getting them comfortable. And therefore, you can ask a tough question. Some of my toughest questions are asked to people that I'm really good friends with.
Yeah.
But I've built up that because I do see them or talk to them on a semi-regular basis. It's never a one-off. It's rarely a one-off. Because if that was the case, then, and 60 Minutes would do this. Mike Wallace, famous for, asking tough questions. We never see these people after he'd do it one time.
Yeah.
Like he had the Ayatollah Khomeini on. And I remember him saying, did you kill those people? And the Ayatollah goes, no. And they're like, Mike Wallace asking the tough questions. Well, he's not going to see the Ayatollah again. Why are people saying you killed those people? I got to get you talking. But asking a question where it's yes or no, that really doesn't lead to a great conversation. So I've spent enough time here, which sounds like lecturing, and I apologize for that.
I love
Dominic.
it. No, I feel like journalism is dying. I feel like people are too selfish to interview at times because you're right. Because of that, I watched Barbara Walters and I watched people like that, and you'd never know how they stood while they were interviewing, because that's how you're supposed to do it. But I don't see people doing that now. It's just
your research is really important, because when you find out something small, like even when you said you got something to promote, that's where I would have said, you got a broadcasting school. Would you like to, tell me more about that?
Yeah.
So that makes it me go, oh, you did your homework.
I looked into it. Yeah.
Always do your homework. That's really important because that lets that person know that you cared.
That you cared.
And that you go, I noticed that you went to high school in Mississippi, and it could lead to something after that. Then they've known, hey, you played for this guy who was your quarterback's coach. What was the best thing that he taught you? Now, all of a sudden, I get them to go into another world there by just doing my homework. So that's another thing. Do your homework. Because when you do your homework, you have said to your subject, you care about them.
Yep. I agree.
That's
Dan,
all I got, Dominic.
You're the best. I'll tell you, Dan, I actually, we had this scheduled in December of last year, and I accidentally overslept.
Oh, I remember, Dominic.
Oh, you remember?
Oh, I remember.
So
that's why when you huh?
You were willing to. I thought you had forgotten. So you were willing.
I was not pleased that you overslept, and I got a follow up, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna give you another chance here, and look, we make mistakes. That to me was inexcusable, but then I don't know what's going on in your life, and you did oversleep. I took time out, but hey, you know what? Who am I?
Dan, I appreciate that so much. I'm so glad that we got to discuss that. I apologize. And it's been a regret of mine and all of my. I'm not a huge sports fan, but I have so many friends that are, and they were like, "I can't believe you."
I thought you were going to lead with it, and I thought, "Oh, are you not going to bring?" So when you're doing your gotcha questions a little bit, I was going to turn it on you and go, "Explain to your audience why you overslept when you were supposed to be interviewing me, Dominic."
I do, yeah. I did an interview with Daniel Baldwin the day before, and then I let TMZ have the exclusive, and they had me up until it posted, and it's my mistake. My pillow fell on I have so many excuses, Dan.
I don't want to. No, don't tell me your pillow fell on your alarm clock.
On my phone, and I couldn't hear the alarm go off.
Oh, you should have stopped when you just said, "Hey, I'm sorry." Now, all of a sudden, here we go. Dog ate my homework. You're better than that, Dominic. See how you did with a gotcha? You did horrible.
I know.
You did horrible.
I deserve this. But Dan, you honestly, I really appreciate it. You have been great. You gave me a second chance, and I want everyone to know that. So
well, it's I'm glad to be able to do it. Good luck with this. Hopefully, I can help with you. If not, thanks for inquiring about me coming on again.
Absolutely, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay. Bye-bye.